Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. I had known Kim for 8 years and been married to her for 6. Our life was steady, planned, quiet, in a way that once felt solid. Same grocery store, same morning routine, same jokes that didn't need a punchline anymore. When she mentioned our anniversary, I assumed it would be simple. A small place, just us. That changed 3 days before the date. "You should make it downtown," she said while scrolling on her phone. "Somewhere public, somewhere fun." "Why the change?" I asked. She shrugged. "It just feels right." Later that night, she added something else. "My coworker Ethan might join us. You'd like him. He's interesting." "Does his partner know?" I asked. "He's coming alone," she replied quickly, too quickly. "It's easier that way." The words settled strange, but I didn't challenge her. I wrote the reservation. I chose the restaurant she claimed to love. I kept my voice normal. The morning of the dinner, her tablet buzzed on the kitchen counter while it charged. I wasn't meant to see it. The screen lit up with a message preview. "I still feel you on my hands from yesterday. Ethan." My body stayed still. My mind moved carefully. I unlocked the screen and scrolled. Messages filled the space. Weeks of hidden conversations. Secrets built inside jokes. Lies woven into plans. My name used as a prop in a story where I was something boring, something safe, something temporary. "He never notices," she had typed one night. "That's why I chose you," he replied. I locked the screen again and placed it back exactly where it had been. My pulse slowed instead of rising. I washed my hands. I finished my coffee. I drove to work as usual. During lunch, I sat in my car and called a divorce attorney. "I don't want conflict," I told him. "I want control." He explained the rules clearly. What I could take, what I should leave, what had to be documented. I opened a new account that afternoon. I didn't touch the old one yet. That would come later. When I went home, Kim smiled at me the way she always had. "Tonight will be special," she said. "It will," I answered, and I meant every word. The restaurant glowed with soft light and quiet conversation. Everything felt normal, almost peaceful. Kim sat across from me, smoothing her hair, checking her reflection in her phone screen. She looked calm, confident. Across the room, near the bar, Ethan stood with a glass in his hand, pretending to study the menu. "You seem quiet," Kim said. "I'm listening," I replied. Kim lifted her head and spoke clearly. "I need to say something," she said. "I've been cheating. I'm in love with someone else." The words settled on the table between us. Nearby conversations softened. A couple 2 tables away turned slightly. Even the waiter froze for half a second too long before stepping back. I looked at her, slow, measured. "I know," I said. Her eyes widened. "What?" "I've known for a while," I continued. "I read the messages. I saw the plans. I know how long it's been. I know his name." A sharp breath left her mouth. Ethan was moving. "You had no right to look through my things," Kim said, her voice rising. "I didn't have to search," I answered. "It showed up right in front of me. You left the door open." Ethan tried. "Maybe we should talk in private," he said. I turned to him, calm. "Ethan," I told him, "you're already part of this." His face tightened. Kim stared at him now, confused, like she had forgotten he wasn't supposed to be seen yet. I pulled my phone out and placed it between us. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't shake. "This is the first message," I said. "This is where it started. This is where you called me safe. This is where you called her brave." A quiet gasp came from a woman near the window. Kim's mouth opened, but no words came out. Ethan looked from the phone to the floor. "And before you say anything," I added, "yes, your fiancé knows now too. I sent her everything this afternoon." Kim stood up instantly. "You did what?" "I prepared," I said, steady. "You wanted honesty. I just moved faster." She looked around the room, realizing eyes were on her, and for the first time that night, fear replaced confidence. "You already decided all of this," she whispered. "No," I replied. "You decided it weeks ago. I just showed up to watch it end." We drove home in silence. Inside the house, Kim dropped her keys onto the counter with shaking hands. "You humiliated me," she said. "You made a scene." "You announced it in public," I answered. "I didn't stop you." "You set me up." "No, I adjusted to reality." She moved closer, eyes sharp with panic now instead of pride. "So what happens next?" You forgive me? We try again? That's what couples do. I reached into my bag and placed an envelope on the table between us. Her fingers hovered over it like it might burn. What's this? She asked. Proof that today wasn't emotional, I said. It was practical. She opened it and pulled the papers out slowly. The words hit her before she finished reading. Divorce? Her voice cracked. I filed this morning, I said. You didn't even talk to me. There was nothing left to discuss. Her breathing turned shallow. Where are you going to stay? I already have an apartment. How long have you been planning this? Long enough to do it right. She dropped into a chair. You're really leaving me here. I nodded once. You can't just take everything, she added weakly. I didn't, I said. I moved half of the shared savings into a separate account. Nothing more. Nothing illegal. You stole from me. I took what belonged to me. She stood again, anger trying to replace fear. This is my home. It's in my name, I replied. From before the wedding. You signed that paper yourself. Her memory betrayed her now. I watched as the reality settled in. Control slipped from her hands with every breath. So, what am I supposed to do? She asked. You'll figure it out, I said. You figured out how to lie. You'll manage logistics. A long pause filled the room. Then she spoke softly. You don't even sound hurt. I'm not putting on a show, I replied. I'm closing a chapter. I picked up my suitcase, the one already packed and waiting by the door. Kim, I added before leaving, you asked for honesty. This is what it costs. By the next morning, Kim tried to take control of the story. My phone stayed silent, but my screen filled with messages from coworkers, old friends, even distant relatives who rarely spoke to me. All of them had seen the same post she had written before sunrise. It painted me as cold, controlling, and heartless. It described a lonely wife, abandoned without warning. It never mentioned her confession at the restaurant. It never said his name. The truth had been trimmed carefully, shaped to make her look small and wounded, and me look cruel. I read it once. Then I set the phone down. An hour later, I opened the app again and left a single reply beneath her words. You announced your affair at dinner. You said you were in love with another man. I'm not punishing you. I'm just not lying for you. That was all. Within minutes, the comments shifted. Questions appeared. Names were mentioned. Someone tagged Ethan's profile. Another person posted a blurry photo from the restaurant. The story changed direction, fast and messy. Laura, his fiancée, sent me a message. Thank you for telling me the truth, she wrote. I needed it, even if it hurt. She went on to explain more than I had expected. Ethan had a history. He flirted often. He chased attention. He had borrowed money more than once. Kim hadn't been a random moment. She had been his next step. When Kim called me that evening from work, her voice had lost its sharp edge. This is getting out of control, she said. You let it out, I replied. My coworkers won't even look at me, she whispered. That happens when secrets turn into facts. He isn't answering my messages either. That part has nothing to do with me. There was a long silence, then a faint, broken sound, like breath pulled too hard through tight lips. You were supposed to fight for me, she said weakly. No, I replied. I was supposed to respect myself. The line went dead. For the first time since morning, I poured myself a drink. Not to celebrate, not to forget, only to mark the moment I stopped being part of her chaos. Kim tried to turn the damage into leverage. 3 days later, a letter arrived from her attorney. It claimed emotional harm, financial pressure, and cruel abandonment. She wanted support. She wanted time. She wanted money. My lawyer read it once, then looked at me. Tell me the truth, he said. I already did, I replied. We walked into the hearing room a week later. Kim sat on one side in a dark dress she never wore during our marriage. Her hands rested in her lap, folded carefully, like a performance rehearsed in front of a mirror. Her lawyer leaned close, whispering instructions. The judge asked her to speak. I was pushed, she said. I was lonely. He planned everything behind my back. The judge turned to me. Did you withhold finances? He asked. No, I answered. I moved half of shared funds into an account in my name. The rest remained untouched. Did she confess the affair? Yes. In public? Yes. The judge nodded once and looked back at her. You were employed throughout the marriage? He asked. Yes. Your salary is listed here. You are not financially dependent on him." Kim stuttered. Words tangled, then fell apart. The judge's pen tapped the desk once. "Temporary support is denied," he said. "Divorce will proceed as a clean separation. No drama, no speeches, just a conclusion." Outside the building, Kim tried again. "You don't have to destroy me like this," she said. "I didn't come here to destroy you," I replied. "I came here to separate from you." "What about the house?" she asked. "It was mine before we signed any paper together." "What about the future we planned?" "You walked away from it before dinner was served." Her voice cracked. People passing by slowed, stared, moved on. "You're enjoying this," she said softly. "No," I answered. "I'm surviving it." For the first time, she had no response. Her shoulders fell. The weight she tried to move onto me stayed on her instead. And for the first time, I felt light walking away. The fallout stopped being emotional and turned practical fast. An internal review began at Kim's company. Ethan had been higher up than she was, and their relationship crossed policy lines. Human Resources called her in, then him, then a third time. Meetings filled a full week. Every conversation ended with another quiet look. When it was over, Ethan was removed from his position and sent to a different location across the state. Kim was taken off her main project and stripped from the promotion track she had bragged about for a year. The bonus she had been waiting for vanished. Her next calls were not angry. They were controlled, careful, almost polite. "I just need a little help until I stabilize," she said one afternoon. "1 or 2 months. That's it." "You had stable," I replied. "You traded it." "You can't just watch me struggle." "I'm not watching." I stepped out of the frame. Another pause, then a softer attempt. "I never meant for this to explode the way it did." It went exactly where it was always heading. 2 nights later, she tried again with a different angle. "I'm pregnant," she said quietly. The silence on my end was brief and deliberate. "No, you're not," I answered. "How would you even know that?" "Because we ended physical contact weeks before you announced anything. Because you had your cycle last weekend. Because you asked me 2 years ago to get a vasectomy. And because I followed through." She said nothing. "You signed the form with me," I added. "You thanked me after." Still nothing. A slow exhale came through the speaker, like air leaving a tire. "Oh," she finally muttered. The line disconnected. From that point, her messages changed again. Short, strange, empty. One word, one sentence, a question without a follow-up, a thought without direction. A person realizing the lies had reached the end of their road. People she once laughed with now avoided eye contact. Invitations disappeared. Silence filled the spaces she used to occupy. And I kept moving forward, untouched by the mess she kept tripping over behind me. The divorce finalization happened in a quiet room with plain walls and a tired clerk who had seen this scene too many times. No raised voices, no last-minute pleas, just names, dates, signatures, and a final line that separated our lives on paper. Kim sat across the table from me. Her posture lacked the sharp confidence she once carried everywhere. No dramatic clothing, no rehearsed expression, only someone worn down by her own decisions. The terms were simple. She kept her car. She kept her personal items. She kept exactly half of the shared savings sitting in the original account. She also kept the credit card debt she had hidden for over a year, a number I had first seen in her disclosure paperwork. I kept the house, since it had been purchased under my name before the marriage. I kept my retirement account. I kept every part of my income moving forward. There would be no spousal support in either direction. That chapter closed as clean as the pen that drew the final line. The clerk stamped the papers once. "Finalized," she said flatly. Outside the building, Kim lingered near the door, unsure whether to walk away or keep talking. She finally stepped closer. "I don't recognize my life anymore," she said. "You weren't meant to recognize it like this," I replied. "You built a different version without me." "He doesn't even answer my calls now," she added, her voice thin. "Ethan moved away last week. No goodbye." "That's how people who live in secrets operate," I said. "They disappear." She laughed once, bitter and hollow. "I ruined everything for a man who wouldn't even fight for me." "That part was always true," I answered. "You just couldn't see it when it mattered." Her eyes dropped to the ground. The sidewalk between us stretched like a fresh border. "You loved me once," she whispered. I respected you, I replied. That's the bigger loss. She nodded slowly, accepting a truth she could no longer shape. Without another word, I turned and walked down the steps. For the first time in a long while, my shoulders felt light. Months passed without noise. No surprise calls, no sudden accusations, no reminders of who I used to be. Mornings began with calm. Evenings ended without tension waiting at the door. Kim tried to reach me a few times. Short notes appeared, then vanished. Her pride kept them brief, but the meaning behind them was obvious. I shouldn't have done it. I lost everything. You were the only one who meant it. I never replied. What I heard instead came from others. She had moved into a small apartment across town. Most of the furniture was sold. Jewels went to consignment, clothes to secondhand stores. The person who once planned vacations months in advance began counting groceries by price. Her circle grew smaller with each choice she made. People who once laughed beside her now crossed the street to avoid conversation. Ethan became a name that no one wanted to say out loud. He transferred, disappeared, and then faded out of memory like a trend that never mattered. The man she claimed to love became a lesson she refused to admit. One night, while walking past the same restaurant where she made her announcement, I stopped at the window. The same table sat behind the glass, now filled by strangers. The host stepped outside. "You want that table?" he asked, noticing me pause. I looked inside once more. Then I nodded. "Yes," I said. "For one." He led me in. A menu opened. Simple. Familiar. As the food arrived, I thought back to the moment she said those words with confidence, thinking honesty would set her free. It did. Just not in the direction she believed. She chose someone else. I chose myself. And that quiet decision changed everything. I wasn't the man she called predictable. I was the man who survived without noise, without chaos, and without needing revenge. The power wasn't in the exposure. The power was in the silence that followed. That silence belonged to me. Thank you for watching.